Hello, you guys, and welcome to a seminar on reversing fatty liver, what I refer to and many refer to as the silent disease. My name is Robert Ferguson, and my goal is to put you in a position where you're informed, and then you're less likely to fall prey or to be influenced by those who are misinformed. Now, if you don't know much about me, I've been in the space of helping people with losing weight, improving metabolic health. That's like triglycerides and blood pressure and all the other things that tie in with metabolic syndrome since 1995. I've written 3 books on the topic. I've done 2 evidence-based clinical studies, and I continue to serve on many boards to include the Presidential Task Force on Obesity for the National Medical Association. And I am currently still guiding Diet Free Life as a company, as well as the Chief Nutrition Officer for Icora Health. And we have helped thousands and thousands of people. Okay? Actually, probably millions. So everything that I'm going to share with you today is evidence-based and clinically proven. Okay? So if you want additional information, or if you want access to some of the studies that I may reference, feel free to reach out to me and I will make those things available to you. Okay. So I want you to be informed the same as I'm informed. Now, this segment is brought to you by our Detox Drop. I'm very excited about the Detox Drop. It's helping a lot of people. It ain't just one of those new programs. It's really helping people. And for those of you who are experiencing or have experienced the Detox Drop, hey, congratulations. You learned quite a bit. It definitely gave you the fresh start. And if you want to do the Detox Drop more regularly, don't buy the Detox Drop program by itself. All you need is the 7-day Vita Blend. That's the supplements that go with the Detox Drop, because you have full access to the Detox Drop online and the booklet for life. The only thing you need are the supplements that help you optimize the Detox Drop. And for those of you who are new to the Detox Drop, you can learn more. I've made available links, so you can go to our store at dietfreelife.com. And it's all about dropping everything from uric acid to fasting glucose to insulin levels to blood pressure, to just putting you in a really good place where maybe you just want to drop inches off your waistline. Again, this is real. It's about food. So food is medicine is a big part of it. And then the right proprietary blend of supplements that will help you optimize your situation. Okay. Now we're past that. Are you guys ready? Yeah, let's dive into this. Okay, now if you have questions along the way, just post them in the chat area. And if you are catching the replay of this, then you can always email us. Just contact us at dietfreelife.com and we will answer your questions. Now, number one, let me just open up by asking a question. Did you know that 1 in 4 adults, and 1 in 10 children and adolescents have non-alcoholic fatty liver disease? Very common. And when you put it into perspective, it's estimated that 80 to 100 million adults in the United States have fatty liver disease, and many, and then I'm going to say most, do not know. You're living with it, it's chronic, and you don't even know. That's crazy. Well, for those of you who are catching this, you're in a position where you will know. Now, according to most doctors, fatty liver disease is not life-threatening by itself, and it isn't something that the average primary care doctor feels an urgency to act on. I feel the lack of urgency to address fatty liver is an injustice, because there are health risks that you're going to learn about associated with it. Case in point, the number one reason for people being hospitalized right now to get a liver transplant is not because of drinking alcohol. It's because of non-alcoholic fatty liver has worsened over time when it could have been reversed. Now, I'm sure people would take action to reversing fatty liver if they knew it could lead to liver cancer. cirrhosis of the liver, and an increased risk of health hardships to include diabetes, heart attacks, and strokes. This is serious. And it blows my mind how doctors just are nonchalant about it. I mean, this is crazy. 1 in 10 kids got this. And when it worsens, it gets really bad. So for all of you, if your child is a little overweight, carrying a little bit of body fat, your teenager, take it seriously. Check out when you can with their doctor if they have fatty liver. Now, if you look at this clip right here, it's very clear. About half of all kids with excess body fat are thought to have non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. Now, this is, and we're going to talk about it, it's when fat accumulates in the liver cells. Now, about 25% of children with fatty liver, they develop hepatitis as kids. And of these, 20% will go on to develop cirrhosis as young adults with a life expectancy after that of just 7 years. Imagine, especially when you look and see what causes fatty liver. If 1 of 10 kids has fatty liver right now, so we went to a 1st grade class, a 7th grade class, and there's 10 kids, 1 of them has fatty liver. If it's 30 kids, 3 of them have fatty liver. And it will go undiagnosed when it could have been reversed. This is crazy. Okay. So here's the goal of our time together today. Number 1, I want you to know what fatty liver is. Like, what is it? And you're going to know that in a very short period of time. And then how do you know if you have it or not? I mean, wouldn't you want to know? And what causes it? Like, what causes fatty liver? And should you be concerned about it? You already know my answer with that. Absolutely 100%. And once you realize you have it, how do you reverse it or you fix it? The good news is that you can reverse it, and you can begin reversing it right now. I have many clients that I'm coaching right now that had fatty liver and no longer now. And I have some that have it, and I'm still coaching them through it. But with the clarity of this, you're taking your whole health and understanding to the next level. Okay? Now, that's the goal of all of our time together. Now, let's take a look at what fatty liver or a healthy liver looks like. So this is an example of a healthy liver. So they took a biopsy, and close up in that microscope, that's what a healthy liver looks like. Now, to understand what a liver that's not healthy looks like, we got to bring up one that's not healthy. And so here you have a liver called a fatty liver. And those big little white circles in there, that's fat that's built up inside of the liver. So you have these cells, hepatocytes, that grow in size and they accumulate in the liver, which then means you have fatty liver, right? So our liver, if you didn't know it, is the largest organ inside of our body. The largest organ is your skin. Now, your liver is responsible for helping you digest food, store energy, and remove poisons. Our liver is it's extremely important. It's responsible for a lot. Now, fatty liver disease is a condition that is caused by a buildup of fat or irritation of the liver. And when the liver accumulates abnormal amounts of fat, because it does have some fat in it, you have, at that point, you have non-alcoholic fatty liver, which is common in people. Like usually if someone has high blood pressure, they probably have fatty liver. If they have high cholesterol, they probably have fatty liver. If they're living with insulin resistance or they're or they have type 2 diabetes, they probably have fatty liver. And there's 2 types of fatty liver. You have non-alcoholic fatty liver, And then you have alcoholic fatty liver disease, which can then, both of them can turn into this thing called NASH. And that's where we don't want to be. And if you're there, even with NASH, which I'll explain, you can still reverse it, because after that, you're looking at cirrhosis. And every time we've all heard of cirrhosis, that's not good. Now, before 1980, non-alcoholic fatty liver, it didn't exist. But over the last 40 years, non-alcoholic fatty liver, it has increased big time and is considered the silent disease that is negatively impacting the health of millions of people. And non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, right, as it builds up, according to the U.S. Centers of Disease Control, CDC and Prevention, you have non-alcoholic fatty liver disease when you're fat, or when the fat makes up about 5% in the liver. So 2%, no problem. And once your liver is inflamed, right, and you have liver cell damage, that's when it starts to worsen to this thing called NASH, which causes fibrosis or scarring of your liver. And when this is not treated, it can lead to cirrhosis of the liver, and that usually results in you needing a liver transplant. We don't want that. Okay. Now, when the fatty cells build up, they actually burst and they leak these enzymes. I want you to remember this, called ALT and AST in the blood. So you have these liver enzymes when you get to the place where the fatty liver is getting pretty bad. The hepatocytes burst, the fat cells burst, and they leak these enzymes. Okay, because that's going to be important for you to know that this is one of the things that your doctor in their lab work looks for to see if you have any abnormalities or irregularities in your liver. Now, some of the other things, we have this trifecta, right? So if you're looking at the ALT and the AST, they're elevated. Also, they can check your fasting insulin, right? Which unfortunately a lot of doctors don't check. But if you have elevated insulin levels, that's a good chance you may have fatty liver. If you have elevated glucose, that's a sign of fatty liver. If you have elevated triglycerides, that's a sign of fatty liver. And if your hemoglobin A1C is elevated, that's a sign of fatty liver. But I'm going to tell you exactly what you can do to make sure that you know 100% if you have fatty liver or not. Because if you only go by the blood test, they may not catch anything abnormal, and you will have fatty liver and they won't even catch it. It's like Susie, who's on this call right now. Susie was sharing with me how she got her lab work done. Her liver enzymes were normal. But then a few weeks went by and she thought she had a potential of having a hernia, and they did a ultrasound or a CAT scan. And when they did the CAT scan, they brought to her attention, hey, did you know you have fatty liver? She's like, wow, I just had my liver enzymes checked, didn't have it, but yet I do have it. So what happens, and this is one of the first injustices, is that you may have fatty liver, but if you don't ask for the right things when you go see your doctor, they may not even catch it. You want to know if you have fatty liver. And so you can demand an ultrasound, which is the gold standard, to find out if you have fatty liver. And once they do that, they can look at a whole bunch of other things to help put you on the path of being healthier. And you can reach out to me or any of our coaches and we can help you. Okay. So ultrasound is how you 100% find out. Don't be like Susie and just assume your liver is okay because your liver enzymes aren't elevated. They don't have to be elevated for you to still have fatty liver. But doctors won't even look to see if you have fatty liver if you don't have elevated enzymes, unless you're informed and you just want to know, and then you can rule it all out by getting an ultrasound. Okay? All right, let's keep it moving. Now, here's the stages of fatty liver. Now, most people, as I mentioned, will never know they have fatty liver until it complicates their health. Matter of fact, it seems that many people find out they have fatty liver because of screening for something else. Like with Susie, as I mentioned, she went in to get screened for a hernia and then found out she has fatty liver. and then you can do something about it. Now, when you have fatty liver, okay, it's not like you can feel anything. And that's why so many people are walking around with it. It's a silent disease. And again, the typical protocol for discovering if you have fatty liver is that your doctor will order some lab work. If they notice some maladies, like with the liver enzymes, then they'll do something, right? So when AST or ALT is elevated, your doctor will further investigate, which may include confirming you have fatty liver with an abdominal ultrasound, a CT scan, or MRI. Your doctor will also look at and review things like medicines that you're taking that could be causing fatty liver, same as supplements, so that we can get those things out of your system and help you begin the process of reversing it. And depending on your situation, your healthcare provider may want to run a whole bunch of tests. And unfortunately, sometimes they have to do what they call a liver biopsy to determine whether the disease has progressed to NASH, right? So it's gone from non-alcoholic fatty liver to NASH. And during a biopsy, your doctor will take a small piece of tissue from your liver. It's not comfortable. And then they can find out what level of inflammation and scarring you have. Okay, so look at it from a whole different perspective. So as you can see, to the far left, you have a healthy liver. Then you have fatty liver, hepatic steatosis. That's NAFLD. That's the beginning stages. That's where a lot of people are right now. When it starts to get worse and start to experience more scarring, then it's called NASH. That's the word steatohepatitis. But look at the very top. It's still reversible at that point. So I believe everybody on this call, we're all at a place where it's reversible. And even if it's not reversible, you can manage it with all the things that we're going to be talking about and what we teach with the Diet for Your Life methodology. So it's reversible, you guys. That's the good news. You can do something about it now. And as you reverse the damage now, you'll see improvements with all other areas of health. Okay? Now, I want you to take a look at this because this is an ultrasound. This is a man who is obese, well over 300 pounds, and he has very low liver fat. He does not have fatty liver disease, but he's obese. So you have a lot of people that are really heavy, and we assume they have fatty liver, but they don't. They don't. He doesn't. Okay. Now here's a man who is obese, who has fatty liver. So again, you don't know. So very high liver fat at 24%. But then you have the one who's obese that doesn't have fatty. Everybody's different. But you want to know. You know what I mean? You want to know. And then you have this person, according to the BMI and body composition, very thin. Looks very fit, but has very high liver fat, has a fatty liver. You can be overweight. You can be underweight. People who lose weight real fast sometimes have fatty liver. You can have a fatty liver and look like a total athlete. It's not just for people who are overweight. So your child may not be overweight, but depending on how they've been eating, may play a huge role in why they have fatty liver. And as you know, if it goes untreated and it worsens, one day they wake up in pain and now they're looking at 7 more years of life, and it's not quality life. Every parent must know about this. Every parent. Every parent. Fatty liver is real. If 1 in 10 kids, you go to your school tomorrow, and if there's 10 kids in that room, 1 of them has fatty liver and don't even know it. If you go out with some friends this weekend, and let's say 8 adults, and you're having a good time with these 8 adults, 2 of them have fatty liver and don't even know. Okay. Now here's another view of it, right? So if you look to the left, you'll see a word called de novo lipogenesis, which we're going to talk about. That basically means that your body can create fat in the liver. It just will do it naturally based on foods that you eat, right? So you have fat floating around in your blood. You have fat that you may eat inside of a meal, and some of that fat will get into the liver, and the liver will hold a certain amount of fat, same as it does carbs. But that's okay. That's normal. But when it starts to accumulate more fat, like the one to the right, the Novo Lipogenesis, to the point that we're up to like 23%, now we have fatty liver. You with me? Okay. So in order to understand how we, or what causes fatty liver, right? Because there's several studies that reported that excessive consumption of carbs, especially refined carbs or fats, saturated fats, protein, meat, blah, 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 can cause non-alcoholic fatty liver. But consuming sugar, specifically fructose, which is found in soft drinks, candy, cakes, pies, cookies, right? And ultra-processed foods, that is your main contributor for fatty liver in both adults and kids. So let's understand how de novo lipogenesis happens. And in order to understand that, you want to have the basics of understanding glucose and fructose, which is sugar. So sucrose, if you have sugar in your pantry, regular sugar, no matter terminado, doesn't matter how it's processed, sugar is sugar. And sugar is 50% made up of a molecule called glucose and fructose. So if you're eating sugar, you're eating fructose. You're also consuming glucose. Glucose primarily means sugar in the blood. And I'm going to explain the difference. But if you're eating a banana, if you're eating bread, pasta, potatoes, any type of vegetable, broccoli, you name it, rice, you're consuming fructose and glucose. And the more refined it is, like in sodas and juices, the more fructose you're probably going to get. And you're going to get a concentrated amount of it, which is setting your body up for de novo lipogenesis, meaning your liver taking the foods that come into the liver and converting a lot of it to fat. Now, to help you understand de novo lipogenesis, if you look to the right, you have a goose. And what this man is doing with this goose is that he's pumping in a bunch of sugar. And the goal is, by force feeding this goose sugar, it causes the liver to become fat. And this is the same, this happens to us. If I'm constantly consuming sugar, and the more refined and condensed it is, my liver is going to get fatty pretty quick. Now, the good news is that you can reverse it sometimes pretty quick. Now, why is this man force feeding sugar into this goose? It wants to create this thing called foie gras. It's a delicate, it's liver from a goose. And people love it. And it tastes really good. I've never had it, but it's delicate. It's like pure fat. Now, look to the left where you have fructose. The big difference between fructose and glucose, when you consume it, right, when sugar's in your blood, your muscles can use that glucose. Your brain can use that glucose, right? Other parts of your body can use that glucose for fuel. But fructose, your muscles don't use, your brain doesn't use. It's the same as alcohol. It has to go to your liver to be metabolized as part of what they call carbohydrate metabolism. And fructose, when it goes there, some of it can turn into what they call glycogen, which is like stored sugar. And then the rest becomes fat, either stored inside of the liver or it gets pushed out into your blood circulation as a triglyceride. That's why when people have high triglycerides, that's usually also a sign they have fatty liver. And then whatever doesn't get stored in fat cells works its way back to the liver, and the process continues. So fructose is the thing that's causing the bigger problems. And it's not just the fructose that you eat. I've talked about this in past seminars. Our bodies, if you're dehydrated, for instance, can actually create fructose without you even consuming it. Okay, so I don't want to get too scientific, because right now I want you to understand that fructose is a problem. Okay. Now, I don't want to go there. I want to go here. What I want to do now is I want to just bring additional clarity to what we can do, how we can reverse it. Okay. So my question to you would be, should we be concerned with fatty liver? And I would say yes. Fatty liver is a disease that can disrupt the quality of your life. And when you have the initial stage of fatty liver, the good news is that you can fully reverse it. Unfortunately, many people don't take it seriously, and it progresses to cirrhosis. Doctors can treat the health problems caused by cirrhosis with medicines, operations, and other medical procedures. But if cirrhosis leads to liver failure, you may need a liver transplant. Now, signs of cirrhosis when it gets that bad: jaundice, a condition that causes your skin and the whites of your eyes to turn yellow. When it gets to jaundice, for instance, there's no reversing your fatty liver disease. And there's a whole bunch of other things that can come about that's not good when you get to that place of cirrhosis. Life is not lived with quality at that point. So why aren't more of these people, these doctors and people with this epidemic, taking action on fatty liver? I don't get it. I really don't. So I want to take a moment, answer any questions that you have, and kind of give you examples on how you can reverse it, no matter who you are, no matter what the stage is. Okay. But before I go into how you can reverse it, any specific questions for me? Come on. Okay. So I saw Arsenia says, is sugar the cause of fatty liver disease? The answer is yes. Sugar is a primary cause for fatty liver. And specifically, the sugar or the molecule we're talking about is fructose. Not the fructose in grapes or bananas, nothing like that. It's the fructose that we're consuming that's coming from juice, sodas, mostly processed foods, right? So if it comes with a barcode, or as a product is in a box, then you're getting some type of fructose. Like, so when they sweeten a lot of foods that we eat, even breads, you'll see the ingredient high fructose corn syrup. High fructose corn syrup comes in basically two different ways. It's called high fructose corn syrup 42 or high fructose corn syrup 55. The number is based on the percentage of the sugar being fructose. And so in a lot of products that are made with high fructose corn syrup, it could be bread, it could be a tortilla. I mean, you'll see it in a lot of things. It's 55. So you're consuming this fructose that your liver looks at the same as it looks at alcohol. And alcohol can also cause your fatty liver to worsen, right? So you don't want to over-consume alcohol. You don't want to over-consume processed foods. And if you lose weight or you drop body fat and you do it the right way, you can pretty much reverse your fatty liver, and it'll look like you never even had it. Catherine asks, can diet soda and zero sugar diets affect fatty liver by making it worse? I'm going to say yes, because of the negative impact fructose has on the gut microbiome. And the gut microbiome plays a huge role in many parts of our overall health. And we know that diet soda creates disruption in the gut microbiome. Does that mean I never drink a soda? I mean, I grew up drinking soda. Every once in a while, I have that moment where I want that carbonation, but it's every once in a while, right? It's kind of like when I was at a restaurant not too long ago. I was sitting there waiting on the food, and the lady brought me a cup and says, "Hey, feel free to get some water or get whatever you want from the beverage machine." So I stood up and I saw Dr. Pepper. It was Diet Dr. Pepper. Now, I never buy Diet Dr. Pepper. It's not something that I drink on a regular basis. But at that moment, I was like, I'm going to taste some Diet Dr. Pepper. And I poured myself some. Now, that's not going to cause fatty liver. It's the people who are drinking, multiple cans or bottles, or consuming a significant ongoing amount of diet or regular soda that runs into these problems. Now, if you can cut it back a little bit and then replace it with water, great. Occasionally have that soda, you're rocking. But the people who are just consuming it and not thinking anything negative is going to happen, they unfortunately may be woken up to a reality that they don't want to live through. And again, I'm not trying to scare anybody. I'm just telling you the truth. Let's see here. Any other questions before I go into it? Okay. Now, with the diet-free life methodology, the way we show people how to eat, it will help reverse fatty liver. The closer you eat to nature, the better. If you're eating a lot of processed foods, well, you're not going to reverse it quick. Exercising will help reverse it. So become more active, drink more water, and it doesn't have to be reversed overnight. Just eat closer to nature, right? Eat real food, less processed food, and that is going to help bring down the level of fatty liver that you have. And eventually you'll be back into normal ranges. And if you know you have fatty liver and they can take a look at your liver, then you have a strong baseline. And then from that, I find that exciting because you can go back in 3 months or 6 months or a year and have them look and they go, no signs of fatty liver. Whoa, how good is that going to feel? It's going to feel pretty damn good. So I think I did a good job. I didn't want to go too deep. I just wanted you guys to become aware of what we're talking about. And I want to put you in a position where you can win. And whether you have fatty liver or not, it's important for you to know. And it's something to bring up when you're at the doctor's office for your kids. You just want to know. Don't let something progress. Because think about it. In 1979, no one had non-alcoholic fatty liver. And then out of nowhere, it started showing up. Well, if you go back and just look, you'll see that high fructose corn syrup came into the food supply in a big way with soda and then with foods. We started consuming a significant amount of fructose. And then over the years, we've seen, where people get transplants, it's primarily people with non-alcoholic fatty liver. People who get cirrhosis, it's not alcohol anymore. It's non-alcoholic fatty liver. And when your liver is stressed like that, right, that's in charge of helping to dilute and deal with toxicity, your liver take a hit. And if you look around the Vita and all these companies, they're just growing rampantly. People going on dialysis is all connected. And I believe if you raise your awareness on the processed foods, specifically with fructose and seed oils, you can reverse a lot of things. Okay, so 5 minutes left. Last minute questions. Come on, bring it. Who's got a question for Robert Ferguson? I'm here. I want to answer. I want to help you out. Again, I want to encourage people to do the Detox Drop. Reach out to me. Get it with a coach. There's nothing better than having a coach. Nothing is better than checking in with accountability. Nothing. Seriously. I mean, support, accountability is gold. And oftentimes we overlook it and we don't take that part seriously. So that's why I've been saying for almost 20 years now that there is nothing better than having a coach. Now, it's nice if you have a coach that's guiding you on the right stuff, but you got to take responsibility for that also. And it's good to even with my clients, I say, hey, when I recommend something, go Google it, look it up. You know, you can always push back. If something doesn't feel right or doesn't make sense, push back. And as your coach, my job is to bring clarity to it, because with clarity provides confidence. All right. So are we good? So Susie asked a question: how should someone ask for an ultrasound with their doctor? Can you give us? Okay. That's a great question, Susie. Thank you for bringing this up. See, what happens is when you go in and you ask for an ultrasound, most of the time your doctor is going to say no, because it's not part of the protocol. What the protocol is they do lab work, and so they look at liver enzymes, as we talked about earlier. And when they look at liver enzymes, if they see liver enzymes elevated, then that gives them room to maybe prescribe and order an ultrasound or to do additional testing. But with Susie's case, remember, she went in, and I've seen this again and again. Her liver enzymes were perfect. And only because she had another procedure done that she discovered she had fatty liver. So imagine how long she could have lived without her enzymes being elevated, but having fatty liver. She caught it really early by accident. So what I would do when you go to your doctor, I would say, hey, I'm feeling some discomfort. So under your heart to the right, right above your rib cage is where your liver is. Just say, hey, I'm feeling some discomfort here, and I'm thinking I may have fatty liver because it's really uncomfortable. Can we test for this? And then the doctor may say, oh yeah, well, your enzymes look good. Yeah, I know, but one of my relatives or a good friend of mine or my nutrition coach was telling me how sometimes the liver enzymes aren't elevated, but yet you can still have fatty liver. And I do feel a discomfort. Now, because you are feeling a discomfort, the same as Susie thought she had a, hernia, then it gives them reason to like take a step further. So you really have to go in knowing what you want. Otherwise, they're just going to shoot you down because it's not part of the regular protocol. Okay, I think I answered that one. Let me know, Susie. Shanita, she says, will the Diet for Life workbook help reverse fatty liver? The workbook will help you with, because it's going to show you how to make fat burning meals. Whenever I'm doing seminars, I may, on certain occasions, which I'm getting ready to start doing, I may say, turn to page 19 in the workbook, and I'll teach from that. And then we have other coaches that may do the exact same thing. They'll say, turn to page 13, or when we're working with clients, we'll encourage them to turn to certain pages, and we do go through certain exercises. So the workbook is a great tool to have. Plus, you have quick access to what foods are, if it's a fast carb, slow carb, what's the portion amount, et cetera. Okay, any other questions, you guys, before I say sayonara? And I do want to say thank you guys for being here. I appreciate you. And I hope you have a better understanding of this thing called fatty liver. And I hope you're empowered with the reality that you can do something about it. And that's the truth. So Susie did come back. She said, yes, that's great. Anything that can help us become our own health advocate is great. 1000%. Okay, we have Kathy says, how about protein powders? What should we look for so we are not getting sugars from that? Well, I always recommend when it comes to protein powders is to choose a protein powder that is very low in total carbohydrates. The one that I use, and I'm not saying it's the best, but they don't have any problems with Consumer Reports. I've been using it for quite a few years, is Designer Whey, and I buy vanilla. It's low in total carbs. It doesn't have too many ingredients. It's a whey protein, and I'm okay with whey protein. I'm more concerned with pea protein. Yeah, and I like it. So it's called Designer Whey. You can get it on Amazon. You can get it at Target. They have it where most supplements are selling, where they sell supplements in the form of protein powders. But Designer Whey, there's a lot of them out there, but that's just the one that I like. I have seen there's some companies like Arbonne, which is a network marketing company. They have a really good one. And then I believe it was Juice Plus, another company. They had a pretty good one. They're more expensive. I mean, I just stick to Designer Whey because it worked for me. But I've seen some really good ones. I've seen some better ingredients than what I buy. So I would stay open to it, but just make sure it's low in sugar or total carbs and protein, because you're buying a protein powder. Unfortunately, there's quite a few protein powders out there that are more like meal replacements. You want protein powders. Kathy says, is it safe for kids to use protein powders? Yes. I have never heard or read anything negative about the relationship between kids consuming protein powders. And I have 2 daughters who I love with all my heart. I have a mom who survived breast cancer 3 times, and I recommend protein powder to them. Alice asks, how about Premier protein shakes? Premier protein shakes, I mean, I buy them occasionally here and there, but most of them have safflower seed oils in them as part of the ingredients. I would use it as a supplement, and if you could avoid it, I would avoid it, but it can come in handy for people who are on the go. Okay. All right, you guys, thank you. So by tomorrow morning, you can log into where we have replays, and this replay will be titled Fatty Liver or Reversing Fatty Liver. And you can listen to it again, take more notes. That's totally up to you. And if you have any questions, reach out to me. You can email me directly at Robert, Robert, at dietfreelife.com. It's been nothing but great. You guys have a good one. Until the next one, God bless.